welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies. I just wanted to show you something that I don't think I've really talked about before, and that is Hyper AA. So there's a few things at play here, and you'll see a demonstration of what I'm talking about to a certain degree, and I have shared this event before, but I haven't really explained about it. So what I call Hyper AA is a product of a few factors, mostly I think because of the fact that ground targets in Air RB do not spawn immediately and they don't start moving toward their targets immediately. They tend to be kind of clustered when they first start out, and I think that there is some series of formulae, some series of calculations involved, some coding if you will, that determines how effective AA are, and there's definitely some RNG involved of course, and just a lot of ones and zeros flying around, but they seem to be much more damaging when they're clustered together or at the beginning of a match before they've had some time to, well, just sort of space out. So if you tend to find yourself getting shredded by AIAA, as I tend to do early on in a match, defensive flying actually does work because their rounds might seem to be magically guided gnomish laser rounds, but in fact they aim very well, these AI, and they have sort of a cone of fire, so if you're dodging around you can avoid some damage, but yeah, I mean, you're just gonna kind of have to take what you can get. Anyway, Hyper AA. I've seen worse. That I definitely got away with it that match, and I actually managed to fly all the way back to my base and repair, rearm, and enjoy myself. One thing you're seeing, besides some really bad aliasing, I have not been able to crank up the anti-aliasing because War Thunder is just not running as smoothly graphics-wise on my PC as it used to do, and let's face it, that engine tech right there is a little bit annoying when it comes to the aliasing. But we are in the Mutant. This was like my third match, and I haven't been playing as many War Thunder matches lately just because I'm focusing on raising my kids. In fact, I had the cousins over today. I had Uncle Jeffy, my brother, come over, and oh my gosh, I get along so well with my brother. I like to say that we're the same person that has just made different decisions, but he does have a little bit more phlegmatic of a personality than me, if you'll believe that. I'm a little more bombastic when I'm monologuing than I am when I'm taking stock of the situation. I'm a little bit more like my girl Chonky. She observes the situation and then she slides right into the social circle where she belongs, except I'm less of a social circle slider and more of a splitting mall, but yep, that's just me. I'm a little more manly that way, I guess. Anyway, this is the what's it called? The M6A2E1 something. It's the Mutant, lads and ladies, and it has a 105mm rather high velocity cannon, lobbing the same APHE rounds at extreme speeds that you get out of the T95 heavy, super heavy tank. It's called a tank destroyer in the game, or the T28 tank destroyer premium, and this is a 6.7 battle rating, and you think, ouch, 6.7, but this is a very reasonable 6.7 heavy tank that plays a little bit like a medium with a giant hydrocephalic head. It really is something that I thought would be more of a gimmick in the game, and just one of those vehicles that you like to own because it's completely ridiculous and not really take out all that often, but this is going to be a good match for me, and it really shows off what this vehicle can do. And of course, it does its best, as all heavy tanks do, in a down tier, and I think we're facing a lot of 6.0 vehicles here, so it's definitely in its own element. But look at the freaking field of fire on the AA 50 cal mounted to the roof. It's already on a high pintle mount, and at the same time you can even cannon barrel and track people from behind complete cover. You can already shoot over a ludicrous amount of cover vertically with the main gun, which is the main feature of the playstyle for this tank. See, look at that. We can track him, and then at our leisure, you may fire when ready. We go right through the angled front plate of that Panther, no F's given. And then we just duck right back behind cover. This thing has one of the best reverse rates of a heavy tank at this tier, and fairly chunky turret armor. I say chunky because I wouldn't call it reliable. By the way, the cannon barrel lurching up like that is a definite feature of this vehicle. I've noticed it quite often, and you have to elevate the cannon all the way back down. It might be a bug, I'm not quite sure, but it has a very weeble wobbly cannon barrel when you're at higher speeds, but fairly stable cannon at lower speeds, probably on account of the very long chassis, especially if you're facing to the side the way I am here. And we're basically just ignoring our hull armor. We want to be hull down, and we are capable of getting hull down with few issues on most of the terrain available on this map. And I completely did not notice that Tiger 2. I thought he was dead, so I'm a dumbass, and I thought I was actually going to die here, but I see that my driver came back, so I'm going to go ahead and duck back behind cover. Maybe that enemy Tiger doesn't have a well-trained crew, and I am sad to see my commander move to another position in the tank, as we now have no one to use our very spammable roof-mounted 50 cal. I'll have to pull off some more hijinks with that. It's just so hilarious to track people from very far behind cover. But to sum up this tank, it has a fantastic gun. It has average gun handling for this tier, which is relying more on the stability of the hull itself as opposed to any kind of actual stabilizer. That's par for the course at 6.7. There are exceptions, of course, but those are the meta vehicles, not the par ones. And we try to be a little cheeky there, try to be a little sneaky there. We are afraid of getting long 88'd in the dome, as we should be. That is a terrifying, terrible gun, and so we really don't want to anger the Tiger 2P. We tried to take our shot, and it just didn't work out for us. And I was saying something along the lines of, I felt like this was more of a 6.3 vehicle. After all, the T28 sits at 6.3, which is actually kind of a crime. The T28 is just fine playing in 6.7, 7.0, 7.3 battles. It compares very favorably against other 6.3 tank destroyers. I dare say it's at least a 6.7. But seeing the way this tank fares right now, it seems like it's just fine at 6.7, which really came as something of a surprise to me. Now, that is definitely subject to change, and a lot of what I'm experiencing with this tank is the way it feels long before most players have a good handle on how to kill this thing. You'll see that we actually bounce a decent number of shots off of our turret. We absorb a decent amount of damage, and again, you want to be playing this hull down, but I strongly suspect that a day is soon coming when the weak spots of the turret, which are significant on this, are well known, and then you'll even more have to play this like a medium tank. But peekaboo style definitely works for this, and even if the enemy knows where to aim for your weak spots, you might be able to get away with a little bit of shenanigans arising because of, again, the good mobility of the chassis, your ability to pop in and out of cover, as you see us doing here. And we just happen to be in a spot where it's difficult for the enemy to close distance with us. We're sort of the tip of the spear here, if not just a little bit down the shaft, but still definitely in that icy metallic range to be considered the tip, and do a little bit of piercing the enemy as we still sit in more of a defensive position, couched if you will, ready to strike down all those who dare oppose this incredible mutant vehicle that rightfully never left the testing fields of America. But as a premium rank 4 heavy tank at the very well-populated 6-7 battle rating for USA, not only are you getting a fantastic grinder, a fun, very weird vehicle with a unique playstyle, that peekaboo style that you see for some of the higher tier heavy tanks, but not so much vehicles like the T-29, which has, it just doesn't have the reliable turret armor to pull that off, and it has other strengths that mean that it's not really relegated to that peekaboo style. And yet, where was I going with this? This has all been one big long run-on sentence. It's nice to get in touch with you guys again. It's nice to actually talk for a video. I have a quiet house. Like I said, I had the cousins over, so the girls were just having an absolute blast. Baby Joshie, who's I guess toddler Joshua now, turned 1 not too well. I guess he's not toddling. He's not walking yet. He's really getting good at crawling. He has this explosive frog-like style that's very impressive and visually distinct and not really highly energy efficient, but that doesn't seem to be much of a problem for him because he tends to enjoy sort of setting up in a position and then squeezing and scratching things with his hands. He definitely thinks with his fingertips, and he likes to slap stuff and scratch it and pinch it and squeeze and plapping. You know, you grab it with your little meaty ape hands and just slam it against something and see what happens. He loves to take things apart, and he's so manly. I'm so proud. There the cannon barrel goes, just popping up into the stratosphere because reasons. But we're about to get a 7-kill game here, just sitting in one spot, campaigning, and the match is winding down to a close. And even though our ammo reserves got a little bit straightened there, we really didn't have to do much, and that's one of the things that you experience with this tank. This is one of the best camping heavy tanks at this rank, and you have the incredible armor penetration. It kind of feels like a long 88 with a long reload and a whole lot more explosive filler. It's a good gun, it really is. And the ballistics are consistent. It's got a little bit higher velocity than your 50 cals, so if you're ranging targets, if you hit the top of the enemy tank with your 50s, just drop that aim down to be able to hit with your 105 if you're pulling the old Kentucky windage. But because you have such an incredible field of view with the commander's binoculars, I actually recommend range finding with the binoculars before you take a shot or pop out of cover. It's one of those things that can make you very, very effective. You find your range, you set your range, and then you roll out slow, take your shot, and then roll back quick, and you're barely exposing yourself at all. It's just a very, very capable tank in that regard, and I think it'll pay off well for you. Anyway, that's the match. That's my spiel for today, and I hope you have a good day. Catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.